Welcome to the Mind Your Own Business podcast and show. I am your host, Elizabeth Upton, and as a former executive, I have seen it all. Our conversations are aimed at inspiring new ways that you can redesign your business and your life so that you can create more time, freedom, and power than you ever thought possible. If you are a highly driven business professional, ranging from I have an idea to an emerging entrepreneur to a CEO who's ready to expand your team, or even if you are an employee who works for one, this show is definitely for you. Join us as we discuss strategies and tips and hacks that will help you to mind your own business, all while not taking ourselves too seriously. There's a little bit of all things business in here, designed to simplify and set your life up for success, from operations, marketing, sales, finance, and mindset to self-care. All of my guests have made an impact in my life, and hopefully they'll do the same for you. If you love to learn and are ready to level up, you're in the right place. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Mind Your Own Business. I am Elizabeth Upton, and I am so excited that we have Suzy Prudden, a serial entrepreneur who is also a legend. She's an internationally acclaimed speaker, a seminar leader, a New York Times best-selling author, and that was before the internet, by the way. She's a fitness expert. She's a body-mind pioneer, a hypnotherapist, success and empowerment coach, TV host on both NBC and Nickelodeon, host on WBAI-FM in New York, and book publisher, also my publisher, by the way. And Suzy is an incredible human being who's committed to supporting people and making a difference in the world. Suzy, I am so excited to have you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I am excited to be here.
It's such an honor to have you, and it's been so wonderful to get to know you. I think it's been about 2-3 years since we met at the event.
We met in March of 2019.
Yeah, and boy, have things changed.
I know. And we were planning to go again, and on the 15th of March, I was going to be leaving on the 15th of March to go to Santa Cruz for that event, when I got the word that it was not happening. And
Yeah.
I was supposed to be in 3 different cities that week, and all my conferences canceled. And I'm sitting in my living room going, okay, now what? You know, because I had a whole week that I wasn't going to be here, and now I'm here. And so I completely changed my business.
Completely. I know. We were both going to meet up, and it was for the Women Rocking Business event, all about empowering, working with women. And I remember when we met, we sat at the same table, and I was so intrigued by how down to earth you were, how direct you were, how no nonsense you were. and you said, you know what, Elizabeth, I'm going to follow through with you. I love it.
I have to tell you, some people do not like my directness, but it really cuts through a lot of stuff. It's if you want to talk to me, I'd be happy to talk to you. If you don't want to talk to me, don't check off the box.
Right. Yeah. She has this card, and she said, you know what, if you're interested, send me the card. And you know what, I will call you, and I will continue to call you until you either tell me not to call you or until we do something together.
Right.
And I love that. And you have inspired me in terms of follow through, in terms of really being actively requesting what you're looking for, how you can support people, how you can empower. It was specifically women at the time. I know you work with everybody across the board. And I loved how you were direct and no nonsense. And I thought, you know what, I want to work with her. And I'm so glad that I said yes, and that we've been working together.
I'm so glad you said yes. It's interesting when you mentioned the follow up and follow through. I was giving a talk last year somewhere, and the person whose conference it is asked me to do a talk on follow up. That's not my topic, but she said, Suzy, I've never met anybody who has such a serious follow up system. So I agreed to do it, and I brought my basket of cards that I had been collecting for the past 5 years. And I carried the basket, it's a big basket. I carried it onto the stage. I put it on the table and I said, how many of you have a basket like this? And the whole room raised their hands. I said, how many of you have called everybody in your basket? 70% lowered their hands. I said, this basket has garnered me $500,000 because I followed up. What are you missing by not following up? And a lot of people have the yes, but and if sometimes I will forget to call somebody, or I'll forget to put their card in my database, and I'll call them up and I said, I have your card here in my hand. I know we met recently, but I can't remember where. Who are you? What do you do? And why do I have your card?
That's incredible. I mean, that takes courage to just say, you know what, can't quite remember where we met, because people would feel guilty to say something like that normally. You know, I can't quite remember who you are, and I care enough that I'm calling you to see how I can support you and what it is that you're up to in the world. And that takes courage. That takes putting yourself aside and being able to just say, hey, I'm going to reach out. I don't know what's going to come from it. I have no expectations. And at the same time, I'm going to give you a call because you matter.
Yeah. And what you do matters, and how we can get you more into the world matters, because that is really what I love to do, is help people become more visible.
Yes. Yes. And what is that system? I know we don't need to get super deep into it, but probably our listeners who, you know, of course, I'm obsessed with systems. So what do you think that you could share about your follow-up system that someone might be able to implement in their own business?
Well, I use an Excel spreadsheet. And when I come back from an event, which I'm not going to these days, but when I get off of a Zoom call, there may be 4 or 5 people interested in talking to me, because I'll ask them point blank, do you want to talk to me about publishing a book? And if they don't, then there's no point in us talking. But they very often do. And so I said, okay, so I write down all their information. When I get off the phone, I put it into the spreadsheet. And so I put in their email first, and I put them in alphabetical order according to the first name, because we tend to remember first names before we'll remember last names. So first names, and then I put first name, last name, where I met them, which Zoom call, which conference, and the date when I met them. Then I put their phone number, and then I put what part of the country they're in. And so I list them all, and then it's separated by a line, green line, because every single place that I go, I keep those separate. So I'll have 5 names, a green line, 4 names, green line. And if I do a big conference, I put in, 100 names, green line. And so when my appointment setter calls, she knows when I met them, where I met them, and I'm starting to put in now what they do. So she has a little bit more understanding of who they are. And then she just calls and she texts. And then she calls and she texts. And then she calls and she texts. And then she calls and she texts.
Very technical.
And right. And then sometimes they text back, sometimes they call back, sometimes I've had people that we've called for 1.5 years.
Wow.
And finally reached them, and they're authors now.
Wow.
So I had an appointment setter one time when I had my other company, and I called her and said, how you doing? She said, I'm great. I said, have you called everybody? She said, yes, twice. And I said, call them again. She said, but I don't want to bother them. I said, that's your job description. You call and call and call and call, because you don't know what's going on in their life.
Right.
Now, with the person that we called for 1.5 years, she'd been very sick. We didn't know this. She said, it was so wonderful that you kept calling, because I knew that once I was well, I'd be able to do this book because you kept calling.
Right.
And then I've called people and I've said, look, we've called you now 37 times. Would you like us to stop, or would you like us to continue? Because unless you tell me to stop, I will continue. And I have got people who, this is funny. I had one of my appointment setters was at an event, and she's also one of my authors. They're both authors, and she's carrying a book, and a woman came up to her and said, "Oh, that's Suzy Prudden. I hate her."
Oh.
And Carol said, "Why?" She said, "She keeps calling." And Carol said, "Well, did you ask her to call?" "Well, yes, but since I haven't called back, why doesn't she stop?" And Carol said, "You might want to tell her to stop."
Right. Well, you never know what people are going through. I remember there were some clients that I spoke with, and, you know, I picked up the phone and we had this beautiful conversation. You know, years go by, we talk again, years go by. They ended up coming to an event that I was producing, and they went there to tell me, they said, "You do not know the impact that you made in the conversations that we had on the phone. And I knew that you were busy and you had all these things going on, but yet you made me feel as though I was the only person that was there, that you had time to speak with me." And they said, "You didn't know it, but I was suicidal. And when we talked, there was something there that was supportive for me, that I was inspired to come here in person and let you know that really made a difference in my life." And I
Yeah.
had no idea. I had no idea. I was floored. You know, I immediately started tearing up, and oh my God. And she was in a wheelchair, by the way, which of course, I mean, I had no idea. And it really taught me, or it showed me in that moment, that no matter what is going on, you have no idea what's going on for
No.
others. And when you can show up and listen and be present, and regardless of what you have going on, and really be there in a way that has you showing up, it can make such an impact that is beyond your comprehension. And it reminds me when I'm not present, and when I get to the point where I'm like, I've got to do all this stuff and I'm busy and I don't have time. And I do my best to just get centered and get present again, so that I can be present for whatever it is that could happen in my life or in other people's lives.
Yeah. Yeah. And it pulls us back into center. And it's also very interesting when I work with people, and I know when anyone works with somebody else, if there's stuff going on in our own lives, because we're now working with somebody else and focus on them and their growth,
Mm-hmm.
we get out of our stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I'm out. I'm no longer in my own stuff. Oh, thank God. Because we've all got stuff,
Yeah.
you know, no matter where you are on the totem pole, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
people are always
That's what one of my mentors calls architecture, which is architectures and systems we can create in our lives that pull us into action. So the very action of being present and being a listening for someone else, by that very action, you're out of your own stuff, and that architecture
yeah,
is healthy for you. It's a
yeah,
win-win, because the more you give, the more you receive. The more you give, the more you're there to create this understanding. And that architectural system is really, I mean, set up for us. I mean, I feel better when I'm working with people than I do when I'm on my own, you know, sitting here typing on my computer.
I mean, I do too. And when I had my big office in Beverly Hills, when I had the weight loss center, I had 11 employees. And I had one particular one who was always in a tither and always bringing her stuff into the office. And I had her literally create a ritual before she walked in that front door. I said, you imagine a basket right outside that front door, and you dump all your stuff in that basket. You do not bring it into the office.
Wow.
It's
Wow.
not allowed in the office, because there's no room for it.
Yeah.
When you're working with people, with hypnosis, with therapy, with coaching, there is no room for your stuff. You
Absolutely.
have to leave it at the door. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. How is it that, I mean, when I look at all the things that you've done in your life and that you continue to do, and that you're fully in action supporting others, what would you say is your biggest inspiration behind all of what it is that you're up to?
Paying the rent.
There you go.
What it is, Elizabeth, I know what a difference other people have made for me in my life by working with me, by keeping me on track, by helping me be focused. And so for as long as I can do that, I want to do that to others, for others. You know, with COVID, it's interesting. I have my publishing company, and I had left my coaching company behind. I stopped it in 2015. I just didn't want to do it anymore. And then when COVID happened, I thought, well, wait a second. People are going through a lot of stuff right now. I'll bring that back. And so I brought it back, and it's not a major thing that I'm doing, but I have about 3 or 4 coaching clients at a time. And it's fun for me. I love to do the hypnosis. I love to watch their growth, and I know I'm making a difference. And so I couldn't not do it. And then I created a call on Thursday nights, change your mind, change your life. And I thought, well, what I did was that first week, I said, okay, God, what do people need? And the immediate response was connection. And then I thought, people are going through really crazy thoughts right now. There's a lot of fear, there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of upset, there's a lot of turmoil. So I have people come onto this call, and I said, tell me what's bothering you. I did the call last night, and I have 2 sheets of paper of what's bothering. Then I create a hypnosis process to turn it all around. So that what happens is that they come to the call upset, and they leave feeling good. And then I send them a recording of it so that they're no longer in a state of anxiety. And then I have a call on Fridays. I thought, okay, what else do people need? More connection, more opportunity to make friends. So I started a group called Dinner at Your Place. And it's really, 5 o'clock Friday nights. People on the West Coast bring a glass of wine. People on the East Coast bring a dessert. And we talk for an hour. And there has been a lot of business that's been created through that as well. So it's just interesting. I don't know how long I'll do it. I know that I have to start charging pretty soon because it's been free for 8 months. But it's like, I always ask, what do people need right now?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
And okay, so I'm 77. I started my first company when I was 22 in New York. And my CFO, he's so funny. He goes, Suzy, you were so far ahead of your time, because I created an S Corp in 1965. He said, Suzy, people didn't do that. And I said, well, I did. But then again, I've always done stuff that people didn't do. And so I've had a fitness school. I've had body mind technology pioneer. I've worked with Louise Hay. I've worked with Carolyn Mace. I've always found people to work with that are exciting to work with and fun to work with. And then when I started my publishing company, that was an accident. We didn't mean to. My sister and I had gone to a seminar in 2006 and in Las Vegas. And at that seminar, we were told to write a small book. Now, all the books that we've written together, we've written 11 books together. No, we've written 5 books together, have been big books published by big houses. And so now we're going to self-publish a book. And I was in the weight loss industry, so I thought, as we're driving home, I'll write a book, Suzy Prudden's Itty Bitty weight loss book. And so then we went back to our lives. I went back to running the company. She wrote the book. We self-published it. We didn't know what we were doing. We didn't have a good cover. We didn't have a marketing plan. We ordered, at that time, you had to buy 2,000 books. We bought the 2,000 books. I think I have 1,800 left. And it's sitting in the garage. In 2014, I said to my sister, do you think you could make the book smaller and change the cover? And she had been doing short stories and had really knew what to do on the back end in the publishing industry. So we got together for the holidays that year. She showed me the cover, and my name was no longer on the book. Now, my name has been on every book since 1965. Everything I've done, Suzy Prudden's this, Suzy Prudden's that. So I'm looking at the book. You sure you don't want my name on the book? She goes, I don't care. Actually, Petey, that's $1 million business. And we don't have to write the books anymore. We have other people write them. 3 days later, we were in business. 2 weeks later, we had our first signed contract. 6 weeks later, we had our first published book. And we
Wow.
have now 76 bestsellers. We've done 76 bestseller campaigns. We have 76 bestsellers. We have Legacy Press Books, which is another arm to the company. We have Little Dog Press for children's books. And it's just growing and
Wow.
growing. And it's fun. And what we do, it's not about writing a book. It's about your book is your business builder.
Yeah, I've heard you say that. What do you mean by business builder in terms of a book?
Thank you. This gentleman here, Anthony Camacho, he's done 6 books with us. This particular book was his first book, and it helped him grow his company from $100,000 to $750,000 in 2 years. He used this as his marketing tool. It got him an opportunity to go to Australia 8 times in 2 years to teach his sales method. He travels all over the world now teaching his sales method. He's not shy, that's for sure. He's very, very aggressive. And his latest book is on cold calling. He's a master at cold calling. Most people hate cold calling. Mm-hmm. He thinks it's a hoot. This was a great, this person, when she came to me, she had no idea she was going to write a book on marijuana. And neither did I. I mean, basically it's like, who are you and what do you do? Mm-hmm. I met her at a conference. She wanted to do a book, called her when she got home. We had our appointment and I said, tell me about you. She said, well, I'm a full-blooded gypsy. I said, okay. She said, I'm a disabled vet. I said, okay. She said, I'm a spiritual coach. I said, okay. And I'm a marijuana dispenser. I said, okay. And then she was in Washington State. This is before it was legal in LA or in California. And I said, what do you want to write about? And she said, I don't know, spiritual coaching. And this question that I asked her is the question every single person who's watching and listening needs to ask themselves about what they do. What's the low-hanging fruit? And she said, I don't know. Is it spiritual coaching? I said, no, it's pot. Why don't you write the book, your amazing Itty Bitty Marijuana book, 15 Ways to Use Cannabis for Healing? She said, how did you do that?
Right. Yes.
I said, that's what I do.
It is what you do.
And then you write the book, 15 Ways to Talk to Your Kids About Cannabis, 15 Ways to Use Edibles Correctly. Now, when I say that in a conference, I'll pause and I'll say, how many of you have done edibles incorrectly? And at least 30% of the room groans. It's like, oh, yes. I said, wouldn't you have liked to know how to do it correctly? Yes. So then she created a cannabis coaching program, which she now teaches and certifies cannabis coaches. And they do Mary Jane parties. So it's like, it snowballs.
Well, you have an uncanny way of listening to what people are up to. I remember our call, and you are laser. You have a way of being able to listen to what someone says and then say, oh, your book's about this, right? Yeah. I don't know if you remember our call, but I remember how you had said, oh yeah, business strategies, powerful, 15 powerful business strategies, and I was like, what? I wanted to write it down because I'm thinking, okay, is that what it is? And now with Mind Your Own Business and how that's been taking off, it's been incredible. And we're going to put that in there as well. And I remember just going, gosh, how did she do that? I thought the same thing. You have an ability. It must be something innate or learned. I'm not sure, but
it's not learned. It's not learned. Mm-hmm. It's a happening. Yeah. It's very intuitive. I basically learned a long time ago to get out of the way and allow the information to come through me. And sometimes when I'm talking to somebody, I said, please take notes because I will not remember what I'm saying. And what I'm about to tell you is gold.
There you go. I didn't plan on writing a book before I met you. And I didn't think, oh yeah, I'm going to write a book. Exactly. And then when we connected about it, what I also loved, of course, being the systems person, was that there's a template, right? And that there is only so much space that you can write on the page,
Yes.
and it does take a lot of work. It's like, if I had more time, I'd write a shorter speech, right?
Right.
Like, so
Right.
you have to be really clear and understand, okay, this is the this is the point, right? Otherwise you could just keep writing. And what I loved and why I said yes to working with you was, okay, there's this template here and I can work within it, and I only can go this far. And I needed that. I wanted that structure, because
It
taking
works.
it on, there's just too
Yeah.
much to think about. And it was too much for me if I had to have a choice of write a book however you want to write a book, or here's the template, fill it in. I mean, there's just no question that I'm going to take the template and fill it in, and be able to hopefully finish it sooner than I would anything else.
Well, it keeps you focused. And what I tell people is, once your book is written, it's static. It's done. But your website is fluid.
Mhm.
So what you do is you send people from your book to your website, where you can change stuff and you can put articles up there and you can expand on the information. It's very important, Elizabeth, to know that 95% of Americans don't read.
Wow.
Yeah. So the book industry, whereas it's a good industry, my itty bitty formula
Mhm.
will allow people to get the information they want to get out there to the people who will actually read it. Because we're the new dummies. The difference between dummies and itty bitty, dummies are the big fat yellow books that are 350 pages that you have to read with a yellow highlighter, and itty bitty books are the yellow highlights.
Aha.
So that people get the information and then they go, I want more, instead of enough, enough, enough. I want more. Then they go to your website. Then they become your client. Then they enter into your community, instead of putting the book on the shelf and let it gather dust.
Well, that's the most important thing, and that it's organic, livable. It's like, let's say that you have a template that you've been working on that you want to share with your clients. You can update your template. You
Yep,
can put that on the website. You can
yep,
still say, go here for the template, and then you can be modifying and updating as appropriate for growth and times as they change. And so it's great that it's alive, because
right.
there's not a lot of, you don't usually think about books that way.
And instead of having to wade through 10 or 15 pages to find the nugget is right there on the page. There's 15 chapters, 30 pages. That's it.
I know it's a challenge. It's a challenge, and it's exciting at the same time, because it feels doable, but it also feels like, for me, as I'm writing it and I'm in that process right now, I'm wanting to make sure that it is comprehensive and that everybody is getting as much as they can out of the tips, and that they could take the book and they could thrive with it on their own, right? They don't need this extra thing or this extra add-on or to do all these other things. Now, of course, there's so much more, right? I mean, oh my gosh, it's endless. But at the same time, I want people to be able to have a comprehensive understanding of how they could utilize it themselves. And I don't
Right.
even think I told you this, Suzy, but recently I've had this breakthrough about organization, and so not only business strategy, because that was the direction I was going, but now I've been looking at how it's more like decluttering and
Oh,
organizing,
yes.
right? Like,
It's huge.
oh my God, how can I organize? Like, I've been meticulously going through my kitchen, and I had this cabinet that was just jam packed with just, oh my gosh. And it was supposed to be all my, nutritional supplements and all the things I'm supposed to take. And you'd open the cabinet and you just want to close it, and you'd be like, oh, I don't want to do anything with that. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, how you do anything is how you do everything. And if this is supposed to be my nutrition cabinet, what does that say about my nutrition? Right? So it's like, okay. So I was calling it the beast cabinet that I needed to get through. And it inspired me. In fact, I did my whole kitchen before I went, like I saved it for the end so that I could get to that and be prepared for it. It was like that much of a thing. And I had no idea that it was going to incite all of these realizations that I had. So I'm clearing it out. I'm looking at all the things I have. I'm getting rid of the things that I don't need, things that have expiration dates, things that I haven't taken, stuff that I'm not using, and I'm throwing this away and I'm organizing that. And then as I'm pulling it out, I'm realizing there's no system here. And I went and got this turntable system. I love the makeover shows. I've been watching The Home Edit lately. I don't know if anybody's seen it, but it's just like such an inspiring show. So I'm getting the things and I'm putting them all back and creating a system. And now the cabinet is the most beautiful, spotless, functioning, like inspiring cabinet. And I joke with my husband that I just want to stand in my kitchen and stare at that cabinet because it just feels so good. And I had this aha where I was like, oh my goodness, this is what I do for businesses. And this is what I do for people's lives. I help them organize it. I help them look at what isn't working, pull the stuff out, get rid of what doesn't serve them, and then put it back in a system, and then have that system working and like what works with the system, right? Like what worked in my pantry didn't work in motion. So I needed to iterate on it. So I had 3 versions of my pantry, right? And it's like, you have to get in action with it. Does this sit here? Does this go there? What are the categories? Where do they live? And also I was so present to how good I felt, like physically good. The space feels good. Everything goes where it had a place, right? Because when you're jamming all this stuff in there, it doesn't have a place. And then you put something here, and then over time, it's a junk drawer upon a junk drawer. And that's how our businesses are. And that's how our lives are. And it's like, oh.
You said a word, which is probably one of the most important words anyone in business can use, and that's action. And we have to constantly take action and not allow ourselves. Yes, I go into the overwhelm and I'm stalled for a minute. And then I think, okay, Suzy, the only way out of this is to get out of this. And even if it means getting up, walking around the building, coming back, just get into action, any kind of action.
Yes.
Pick up the phone, make a call. Make a call you've been avoiding. Boy, that'll get you into action.
Oh, yeah.
Once you get past the, oh my God, I don't want to do it.
Oh, yeah. And who wants to like pull everything out of their kitchen and organize it, right? Or who wants to look at all the things that they're not doing? It is helpful to be able to call somebody and to say, can you come over here and help me with this? Or have someone sitting there. And that's what I do. Like, I'll sit there with you in your business. I'll sit there with you in your life. I'll just listen. And then we'll go through it together. And you know what? It's exciting. Like, it's like, what's going on here? What's working for you? What isn't working for you? What's important to you? Because what's important to somebody's business is not important to somebody else's business.
Right.
And what it is that you're focusing on and how you're implementing it. Maybe you need an ear. Maybe you want to talk about, personnel, or maybe you want to work on your leadership qualities, or maybe you're wondering about your purpose and why you're doing this. And maybe you've had this business and you just kind of lost that spark. Yeah. Right. And so whatever it is, that's why it's so exciting for me, because I'm fascinated and I just get to be a witness and support, and you don't have to do it alone. And, who wants to do it alone? We don't need to do it alone anymore, Suzy. I feel like that's just been the way that we used to do things, and we don't need to do that anymore.
No, I didn't have a coach until 2008. And that's when you think I started my first company in 1965.
Wow.
And I didn't have a coach until 2008. Well, that's not true. I had a series of coaches for a little while in the 80s, and then nothing until 2008. And I was in the process of losing my business. And I was thinking, okay, now I haven't worked for anybody since 1965. And so this is 2008 and I'm losing my business. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to have to get a job. I don't know how old I was. Well, I'm not going to do the math. I was old, in my 60s. And so someone that I had taken a course from, Eric Lofholm, at that time sent out an email saying he's looking for coaches. Now, I'm a coach. So I thought, okay, I'll take his seminar and I'll apply for a job. Now I'm not hireable. And they told me I'm not hireable, but I knew that ahead of time. And so what I did was, after I realized I wasn't going to get the job, I thought, okay, he's teaching me a really good system. Why don't I add my system to his system and then just create a hybrid of what he's doing and what I'm doing and create a whole new thing, which is what I did. And it was interesting to me. I was really panicked because I had this huge company in Beverly Hills. I had 4 offices: Beverly Hills, West LA, Venice, El Segundo. And we were dying. I mean, it was just people were not coming in to lose weight. They were more focused on saving their mortgages, saving their homes. And weight was not as an important issue at that time. And so I'm trying to figure out, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I took his work, my work, combined them. And in that first week that I put it out there, made $4,700. And I thought, well, this works. And then I just kept going and created a new company. So when my franchisor said, you can't pay the franchise fee, you're closed, I said, well, are you going to take care of my clients? And they said, no. I said, but some of them have paid me $3,000 to continue to work with me. And they took no responsibility. So 10 days after I shut my Positive Changes Hypnosis doors, I opened my Suzy Prudden International doors. I started working with entrepreneurs with my new system, and I took care of all of my clients that had spent money with me with Positive Changes at no cost. The money was gone. I took care of them at my cost because I was committed to following through with what they had paid me to do.
Right.
And it felt right. It absolutely felt right.
Mm.
A lot of people didn't do that, but it's like, I can't just take their money and say, well, tough noogies. So it was a very interesting transition. It happened very smoothly, very easily. People said, how did you do that? I'm like, I don't know, I just did it.
Well, that's good for our listeners now, because a lot of people have been struggling with businesses being closed with COVID, and with, what it was that they were doing is not, they're not doing it anymore. And, if the word is pivot, everybody's saying pivot, and it's really interesting. And one thing that I always have felt every time I talk to you about how creative you are, and how, again, with action, you're like, oh, well, now we're going to create this, just like you created the calls. It's like, well, what do people need? Okay, now we're going to create this. Oh, well, Itty Bitty publishing. Now we're going to create this, oh, hypnosis, people need it. They have anxiety. They need support. Okay. Now I'm going to pull that again out of the things that are all the qualities that you have, that you share with people. I've been on some of those calls, and they're very powerful, and people share very vulnerably.
Very vulnerably.
Oh my goodness. I mean, I'm getting chills just thinking about it. It's such an incredible offering, and a testament to your ability to pivot and to say, okay, we're closing the doors. All right, I'm going to stay in integrity. I'm going to continue to support these people that have paid me. I'm going to do everything that I can in my power, and I'm going to continue to move forward, and I'm not going to wallow in it. And I'm going to move forward. And I mean, that's a testament to all the things that you've created. I mean, how many things did I mention that you do in the beginning of the call? It's like, it's mind blowing. You inspire me so much, Suzy.
Thank you.
Everything that you do.
But I have to admit, Elizabeth, sometimes I do wallow.
Well, you are human.
Sometimes I do wallow. And sometimes it's like, oh, this is so hard. And then I go, okay, next. You can't stay there.
Yeah. How do you get out of it when you're there? Do you just snap yourself out? What do you do?
I don't know, but I used to call my sister when I would do a wallow, and I say, would you please remind me I'm okay? She goes, you're okay. I said, thank you. But that's actually an interesting affirmation, I'm okay. Because when I get sometimes into my own nonsense, then I have to say, okay, Suzy, you're in your nonsense. You have to get out of it. So I'd start saying, I'm okay. 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 I'll be driving the car. I'm okay. I'm okay. And then I'll check in and go, yeah, I'm okay. This is an important thing that I'm going to say right now. You always get to be right. What do you want to be right about?
Mm.
So a lot of people focus on the stuff that isn't working and they get to be right. And they focus on the hard stuff and they get to be right. And they focus on what they don't like about somebody and they get to be right. So what happens if you change your mind about that and find something that you like about somebody instead of that you don't like and focus on that and then get to be right about it?
Wow.
Why not focus on the money's coming in and I'm okay and let the money come in and be okay? Then, oh my God, how am I going to get to the end of the week or the end of the month? And yes, it is a challenging time. And yes, we get caught in the minutia of our mind, but we can write down the thought that's causing distress, and then look at that thought and see how you can rewrite it.
Mm.
So what you focus on expands, and you always, always, always get to be right. I was in a
Wow.
I was in
Sorry.
a that's okay. I was in a seminar one time, and I was doing a retreat. This was in the 90s, and I was explaining this concept. And one of the participants said, yes, but my life is hard. I said, okay. Now, what happens if you change that thought? She said, but it is hard. I said, yeah, it is. What happens if you change that thought? Well, my life is hard. And I said, okay, what happens if you change that thought? I'm watching the room, and I'm looking at this woman, and all of a sudden she goes, oh, my life could be easier. I said, well, is that something that you want to put out there? Because that's better than my life is hard. My life could be easier. Well, it could be. I said, yeah, it could be. And so she started saying, well, my life could be easier. And energetically, she shifted, which will now allow her life to be easier. Will she still go through hard stuff? Probably, but she'll have a different take on it. Do I go through hard stuff sometimes? Absolutely. And I have to look at it and I have to say, okay, I can wear this like a shroud, or I can say, oh, this is challenging, and keep going.
There's also that other saying, like, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy?
And then, T. Harv Eker said, you can be right or you can be rich.
Oh.
You know, we
Wow.
all have, yeah.
That's cool.
It is cool. As we all have our preconceived ideas, and then we focus on those preconceived ideas. And then in S, which I did not take, but my sister took, Werner Erhard said, oh, what? Now I've lost it. Phooey. It's, well, the truth will set you free, but first it'll piss you off. But that's not what I was going to refer to. You can be right. Okay, well, I lost it.
That's okay.
So,
well, it also reminds me too of failure, right? Because people think about failure, or at least there's this kind of morass about failure being something bad. Like, people don't do things because they're afraid to fail.
Failure. Mm-hmm.
Right? They're playing not to lose instead of playing to win.
Right.
And it's our failures that will teach us so much about life, about what to do next. I mean, it's actually some of the richest information opportunities we can get. And I'm wondering, is there any parts in your life where you've had some failures, or your greatest failure, if there's one of them?
My greatest failure was a really big one. When I wrote MetaFitness, Your Thoughts Taking Shape, I got on the Oprah show, and the whole hour was focused on my topic. And I was, very cocky, and my business took off, and book sales took off, and 8 months later, I ended up homeless. And that was really quite a failure. I had not been paying attention. I didn't know how to handle it. I didn't know how to handle myself. I didn't know how to handle money. And one day, it happened in February of 1990. And in February, my rent check bounced. All the jobs that I had lined up for the year canceled. And I found out that I actually had no money in the bank. And I thought to myself, okay, this is not an accident. This is not an accident. This is a universal, you have some lessons to learn, Suzy. And I remember sitting in my kitchen and I was shaking. And I looked up at the ceiling and I said, thank you, God, you must really love me to give me this experience because it's going to change my life. And I spent the next few months, I got a job. And I hadn't had it. It was great because I was working with a teacher and we were at an event and there was somebody else at the event and he said, Helene, you need office help. Suzy, you need a job. Talk to each other. So I had no money. I called Helene and I said, I want the job. And she's like, Suzy, I'll, I'm only going to pay you $10 an hour. And I thought to myself, well, that's more than I'm making right now. And I really had to, I mean, talk about an ego death and shame. Oh my God, I was shamed. So ashamed. So she said, I don't know how to talk to you. I said, talk to me the way you would anybody else. She said, but you're Suzy Prudden. I said, yes, and this Suzy Prudden needs a job. So I went to work for her for $10 an hour. And while I'm there that first day, her then secretary said to me, Suzy, are you good at organizing? I said, I'm a Virgo. Of course I am.
Oh, you're a Virgo. Yes.
And well, if you saw my desk, you would say, I'm a very new Virgo. I'm still learning organization. So I said, sure, I can organize the office, which I did. And I said, well, organizers usually get about $75 an hour. This was in 1990. I'll only charge her $25 an hour. So I got the job at $10 an hour. And before I left that first day, I was making $25 an hour.
Wow.
And I did it 3 days a week. And literally that got me through to the end of May when I literally packed up all my stuff, put it into storage. And I never slept in the car, but I had a very unusual homeless experience because I was Suzy Prudden. Okay, so here I am, this famous person. And so the second night that I was without a home, I was at the La Jolla Hyatt on the concierge floor. All expenses paid because I was speaking there that weekend. And from there on Saturday morning, I went for a week at Rancho La Puerta because I was speaking there that week.
Oh, I love Rancho La Puerta.
Me too. So I drove in Saturday, having no idea where I was going to be sleeping the following Saturday night. And by the following Saturday night, I had another amazing opportunity. And that's how I lived for 10 months until I began to pull myself back. And it was a real abyss. So
Wow.
that was my greatest failure. And yes, I learned a lot. I learned humility. I learned it didn't matter what kind of car you drove because I was a snob. Didn't matter what neighborhood you lived in. Well, it did, but not as I had held it. And I was humbled, seriously humbled.
Wow. And it seems like you were, even at, the worst, you were still fully taken care of. You had everything you needed. You were getting to go to these amazing places.
Yep.
Oftentimes we think that the worst is really, really bad. And if you do the work to look at what the worst case scenario is, you can realize that this thing that you've been fearing or avoiding or scared of or not doing things because it's there, it's actually not nearly as bad. I mean, here you were homeless. That could be like the worst thing. I have no home to go to. And yet look at what happened.
Yeah, it was an amazing experience. It was a serious gift. And I was having dinner at an event with Gary Zukav, who wrote the Dancing Woolly Masters and Seat of the Soul. And I don't know how this topic came up. We were talking about it and he looked at me and goes, Suzy, how did you do that? And without thinking, I said, I leaned back into the arms of God. And really every day I'd say, okay, God, where do you want me? Now, I'm not a religious person, but I'm a very spiritual person. And so I trusted and I trust that I will be taken care of. And in the scariest moments, I always am.
Wow.
And in the non-scary moments as well, but the ones where I'm like, ah.
Well, I mean, it says a lot about reframing and looking at failure. It says a lot about what it is that we can count on, and also what we can't count on, and how we go through it that matters.
Yeah.
What it is that we do, how we say, how we show up. There's an element of faith, there's hope, there's trust, all of the things that you're sharing. It's all living in that world of being willing to show up and keep going, and again, be present, right? Because you have to be present if you're going to say, okay, show me where I need to go.
Yep.
Right.
You have to be here.
And it's not predictable. So,
nope.
You never know what will be around the corner, and you never know what gold you will get from really tough, sometimes very tragic situations. And,
what's happening now is we are really being tested. And every single one of us can get through this, period. And it won't look the same when this is past. It will be very different. We will be very different. I mean, I've been in my home for 8 months. I live alone. I have a cat. And I talk to a lot of people on Zoom, but that's not being in connection with people. And we are herd animals. We travel in packs. And so, being alone, every once in a while I get a little wonky. And then I have to remind myself, okay, call somebody so right. that, you touch somebody. But we will all be different when this is over.
Yes.
The world will be different when this is over. And we have an opportunity to be better then. And so rather than focus on the, oh, poor me, it's like, okay, how can I move to a place of success? And failure is important. If you fall down, just get up. A baby that's learning to walk doesn't beat himself up for falling down. He just laughs and gets up again. And so we have to stop beating ourselves up when we fall down and make stupid mistakes, because we're all going to make them. And make them fast. Especially
if we're up to big things, we're going to make them.
Yeah. And get coaching. Seriously, get coaching. Because I have 4 coaches right now. And they're each different, and they each help a different aspect of my life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't get through this without my coaches, without the support. And you're right. It's different aspects of our lives that they're, they have the wisdom and the shortcuts and the ability, the listening, to be able to go, oh, hey, cut that out. Right? Yeah. Stop that.
I did that to a client last week. This was so funny. He told me, it was very funny. I love this client. Just adore him. So this was our first session. And he's a coach and a therapist. And I said, so what are you charging? He said, not enough. I said, so what's not enough? And he told me, I said, stop it. You can't do that. He said, yes, but. I said, there is no yes, but. Don't do that. You're giving it away, and you're not serving the client. People don't respect what they don't pay for. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's a value there. There's a buy-in. I'm committing to this. There is an agreement that is in that. And I think even with that agreement, what it does is it creates this, okay, I'm going to show up for that.
You took the words right out of my head, because I'm thinking of, I've paid for this, I'm going to show up for it.
Yeah.
I joined a very high-end coaching program this year, and it's expensive. And I was sitting in the room in January. It's a group I looked at 4 years ago and was not ready for and did not want to sign up for. But several of my friends have joined, and I'm watching their companies go, whoa. Okay, so I thought, I'll go back. But I was very resistant. I came a day late. I watched myself, with the arms crossed.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm listening, and I'm listening to the people, the participants, and I'm listening to how many years several people had been there. And I'm listening to the fact that I'm in the room filled with millionaires, and a couple are going for, high million, $30 million companies, $25 million companies, $8 million companies. And I'm thinking, I have to join this group because I can stay where I am and I'm okay. Or I can say, you know, I'm going for the top. And I think we all have to look at that. Are you comfortable where you are? Are you comfortable with less than you can have?
Right.
Or do you want to move? And
are you complacent?
Yeah.
Are you tolerating? Is that where you want to be? Or are there more levels?
Are you in your comfort zone being this uncomfortable?
Yes.
Because
that's a good way to put it.
We get comfortable in our discomfort.
Yes.
Because it's familiar. So I committed to this, and it every month, you know, I'm paying a couple of $1,000s every month, and it's like, okay, I just have to step up.
Yeah.
I have to step up. So I have several coaches besides that company, and it's, again, if I don't do that, I will stay where I am.
Right.
And I don't want to stay where I am. I want to grow.
I'm with you. I have done the same exact thing. I am being so challenged. I have been working on visibility. I have been working on that my message and what I share is so much greater than how I look while I share it. And that has been a really big, breath for me to say, you know what? My message is more important. My message is more important than what I think other people think about me thinking about them. So just say it already, because you're doing a disservice to the world. So stop it.
That's right. Stop it. Stop. It's the Bob Newhart show when he goes, stop it. Just stop it.
Exactly.
So one of the things that Allison says is she says, build the plane while you're flying it. And so I started a university this year. And I thought, I don't know what I'm doing, but I have a friend who's helping me. And then I started a whole series of classes. I did a retreat online. And I thought, okay, just make it up and do it. Throw it up against the wall, see what sticks.
Yeah. Yeah. And action. Just take the action. See what happens. Iterate. Throw it in there. What do people need? What do people want? Not this. Okay, moving on. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And you are someone who so walks your talk in that regard. I mean, even in the 3 years or so that I've known you, it is just like, I have seen you do that over and over again. And I love checking in with you and the hypnosis that you've been doing and witnessing those calls. It's very powerful. And I was wondering, maybe you could, for our listeners, do an impromptu hypnosis for us before we wrap.
Okay, let's do, give me a list of what we need to put in this process. We need to put, right now, people are experiencing anxiety.
Feeling
fear.
Stuck.
My pen ran out, I think, just a second. Stuck. Fear.
Anxiety,
upset.
frustration. What is it like? What's decluttering? Like, what would be a word for that? Like,
they have to get out from under the clutter. Okay. Mind and physical. Do
we also want like positive words like peace and things like that?
I'm going to do that. That's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
See, that's the magic here.
All right. Self-love, self-care,
organization. Okay.
That feels good.
All right, close your eyes.
Okay.
So everybody who's watching and listening, just sit back and close your eyes. Just hold on for a second. You're gonna record this. Oh, you are recording this.
We are. Yeah.
Hello. First of all, I want to explain hypnosis. It's basically, some people are nervous. If you're nervous about it, just don't close your eyes. Just stay present. Just listen as if I was talking to you without saying, take a deep breath. And hypnosis is totally safe. The definition of hypnosis is going into a state of deep relaxation where the subconscious mind takes on a heightened sense of awareness that allows you to make the changes that you need and want in your life. It's not woo-woo. It's not weird. The only thing weird about hypnosis, I think, is the word hypnosis. That's the only thing. That means deep sleep in Greek. So just enjoy your relaxation and don't try and remember what I say. You will hear me. You're not going to go away. You're not going to turn into a chicken. And so don't have to worry about that. So everybody just sit back and close your eyes. With your eyes comfortably closed, sitting back, resting. Hands in your lap or by your sides, take a deep, deep breath. And when your lungs are full, hold it for the mental count of 3. And then exhale. And with the exhalation, allow yourself to begin to relax. When you're ready, take another deep, deep breath and hold it again. Exhale again and go deeper and deeper into the place of peace and calm. Inhale and exhale at your own comfortable pace. With every breath, allowing yourself to go deeper and deeper. With every thought, going deeper, deeper and deeper into a place of peace and calm. You are safe, and all is well in your world, regardless of what's going on. As you breathe in deeply and breathe out completely, release the fear, let it go. Let it go and trust that you're okay. Allow yourself to begin to take action. Small steps will lead to bigger steps. Will lead to bigger steps. Start with something small. Allow yourself to say yes. Yes to life. Yes to opportunity. Yes to what is being sent to you that you have no idea of. Something good is coming. As you breathe in deeply, breathe out completely. You realize that all is well in your world. And if you should feel frustration, release it and take action. Release it and take action. Begin the process of releasing thoughts from your mind that do not serve you. Let them go. Take care of your home, declutter your office, declutter your mind as you breathe in deeply and breathe out completely. And place your hand over your heart and say to yourself, I love you. I really, really love you. You are my best friend. You wake with me each morning. You sleep with me each night. You are my brilliance and my humor. You guide me through the rough spots and laugh with me when it's fun. We are on this journey together, you and I. I love you. And I'm glad that I am you and you are me. And you realize now with this feeling of love, you take care of yourself. You eat the right foods at the right time, in the right amount. Do the movement that you love. Listen to your body and say, I love you. You organize your life and your body. You feel peace in your heart, peace in your life, peace in your circumstances. And it only gets better every day in every way. And when this is truth for you, back in room awareness, open your eyes awake, aware, fully present, and ready to continue the great adventure that is your life. And so it is.
Wow. That's beautiful.
All I did was take the words we said and I created a new tapestry.
Hmm.
And you know, Elizabeth, it's interesting because everyone can do that.
Hmm.
Everyone can do that. Everyone can say when they're in the middle of something that seems so horrific, they can say, I'm okay.
Hmm.
I'm okay. And they are okay. And even when they don't feel okay, they are okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. And I love how you guided us to connect with ourselves and to
Mm-hmm.
appreciate ourselves and to say
Felt good,
thank
didn't it?
you. Yeah. I don't feel like we do that enough. Or I don't do that enough,
We don't.
to say thank you, body. Thank you,
Yeah.
heart. Thank you,
Yeah.
hands. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you know, this is the all-terrain vehicle. You know, I tell a great story, which I don't have time to do now, but it's about when the soul comes to earth. And, you know, we choose our body and we choose our lessons that we're going to learn. And we have all this stuff that we've got our contracts and we get into our, you know, we're born. We spend the rest of our lives trying to get out of our body. You know, it's like, that's the gift that the body is the physical and the mental and the emotional expression of the soul.
Right. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're always trying to change it, modify it, make it
Yeah.
wrong,
Beat
turn it
it
into
up.
something it's not. My
Yeah.
hair is curly, my hair is straight. I want this,
Yeah.
I want that. Yeah, yeah. And it's our bodies that have us being able to, I have a 3-year-old son, Miles, and like my hip. Thank goodness I have my hip so I can hold him. He's a big kid, like, oh, as a mom, and thanking my body for those moments is
Yeah.
amazing. So I'm so glad that you brought that up because I feel like it's such an
It's
incredible thing for us to do. And it's it just takes the awareness of doing it. It's right. Like, oh, you have permission to thank your body. You have permission to love your body, however it is, whatever it looks like, and just do that.
and
See how it
permission to
works.
love yourself, and permission to stop beating yourself up and stop making yourself smaller.
Yeah.
You know, be
Yeah.
big.
Yes. Yes. Well, that's an amazing way to end our incredible conversation. And I want to know, how can people work with you, Suzy? How can people get a hold of you? What is the best social media connection? Tell us.
310-640-8885 or text me. Text me is better. 310-640-8885. If you text me your email, I will send you a gift. I will send you 4 hypnosis processes that will help you make more money. They're wealth processes, and 4 hypnosis processes that will help you write a best-selling book. And we'll just send you the link. So if you text me at 310-640-8885, just put your email in there and your name, and I'll send you those processes. And if you want me to call you, just say, call me. Trust me, I will.
She will. And who doesn't want to make more money and write a best-selling book? Let's do that. Awesome. Awesome, Suzy. Well, thank you so much for being here with us, for sharing all the wisdom that you always do, and for being a stand for people to make a difference and an impact in the world. And this is Elizabeth Upton. Again, I'm so grateful that you guys are here listening to us. And I am reminding you to mind your own business and have a beautiful day. And we will see you on the next Mind Your Own Business interview, show, podcast, fill in the blank. All right. So much love. Thank you, Suzy. I'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope that you got a lot out of what we talked about today. If you are watching from YouTube, then please give the video a big thumbs up if you did. Make sure to hit subscribe down below if you haven't already, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an episode. If you are listening from Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts, because we know that there's a lot, please take a minute to subscribe if you haven't and give us a review. It helps others to find the show and it puts wind in our sails, literally. So please, please do that. We are at MYOB Podcast on Instagram, and I am at Elizabeth Upton Coaching on Instagram. If you are interested in following along there, we offer a lot of bonus material. And there is a link to the show notes down below in the description box, along with the resources we discussed in today's episode. Most of all, thank you for honoring yourself. Thank you for investing your time with us today. No one is going to be more of a champion for your growth than you are. So always remember that. Keep showing up. And this is Elizabeth Upton signing off and reminding you to always mind your own business.